while. For cost, you will submit your cost with your proposal, but then the following day, you also need to submit Schedule B3, Schedule of Values. So be sure that you pay attention and get that in the next day. And then after that, the owner group will be reviewing the proposals, and there will be interviews on the March 9th, and then you can see what the anticipated rest of the schedule is for March and April in this spreadsheet listed.
All right, Gilbert, I believe that this is yours, correct?
That is correct.
Right.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
Sarah, did you note that we were going to record this?
I did not. Thank you so much. I actually started it a bit late while Susan was speaking, but yes, this is being recorded.
It's a good reminder. Be on good behavior, right? Well, good morning, everyone. Once again, my name is Gilbert, and I'm with Hennepin County Purchasing. So for those of you who are not familiar with our best value process, you may be wondering, why is this not a low bid project? And why is it a best value project instead? Well, one of the reasons why this is a best value is that the owner wants to consider other factors other than cost in the selection of a contractor that is going to be performing this work for the owner. I mean, this is a large project of good importance and great importance to the owner, and we want to make sure that we are selecting that does not just throw a price at this, but comes in with the other qualities that the best value would allow us to evaluate. So besides quality expertise, we also have risk on every project, and we, the owners, know that we are not construction experts. You know, you, the contractors, are construction experts, and so we want to hear from you. And best value allows us that process of listening to you and deciding which of you would be the best suit or partner for us on this endeavor. So these are the reasons why we use best value instead of a low bid process. And in our best value process, we have two phases. The first phase is just the facial submissions, which is you're submitting your documents. We want to make sure that you have prepared your documents as we have outlined in the RFP. Have you signed your documents? Have you acknowledged any addenda or addendum that we have issued? We want to make sure that everything that you submit is per the RFP. And as mentioned earlier, we're using Procureware. Procureware allows you, actually gives you the benefit of not missing anything, because in Procureware, if you've already visited the site and tried to submit, it will not let you submit if you don't have the right documents attached. So it will ask you for attachment A, attachment B, attachment C. In there are prompts in there that make it very difficult to miss something in terms of being responsive to the RFP. And then the next thing we look at is responsibility evaluation. The owner wants to make sure that you're in good standing. These are both responsibility and responsiveness are defined terms in the RFP. So please go in there and look at what each of those terms mean. I've outlined in summary a little bit of it, but responsibility is as defined for this project. Some of it includes making sure you have insurance for this project. You can provide a payment and performance bond for the project. You're a responsible contractor as defined by the state, and you can submit a responsible contractor verification form. So those are a few of the items that we look at for responsiveness and responsibility. And then we also look at, so that is, oh, please go back to the first slide. Sorry. Thank you. And then on the phase 2 part, we look at the cost, and then we also look at the written submittals. And then we interview critical team members, and I'll talk about those in a few minutes here. Next slide, please. So you are responsive. We consider that you submitted your proposal, you're responsive, and we've deemed you a responsible contractor, in which case we now open your packets and look at the cost. We award points for the cost, and total base cost is also a defined term in there. For this project, the total base cost will be a combination of the MBC cost and the city cost. So we are looking at both combined. So when you look at the documents, you see attachments in there that require you to enter your total base cost. That is the basis on which we are going to rank firms. And for this project, we're going to shortlist the 3 firms that are the lowest priced. And so we shortlist that way. So if we have 5 firms, we rank them according to cost, and we cut off at the 3 that are going to move on to the next phase, which will be the non-cost factor evaluation. And so with the non-cost factors, we're looking at your written submittals and interviews. So the evaluation of non-cost factors is a combination of what you've submitted in writing and then the interview of your critical team members. And the scores are not isolated, but they are in combination. So we score them together. So the team that submits a submittal, we'll review those and we'll pencil in a score for those. And then we'll listen to the critical team members, and then we will finalize our evaluation and assignment of points for the project. Next slide, please. So what does this evaluation entail? For the non-cost factors for this project, we are looking at 2 items. We're looking at attachment C, which is the risk plan, and then attachment D, I believe, which is the project planning and delivery form. So for the risk plan, we're looking to, as I mentioned earlier, we're looking for a partner that would partner with the owner to deliver this project successfully. We, the owners, know some risk factors on this project, and we want to hear you articulate those, find those, articulate them, and in addition, bring out other risk factors that you identify. The most important thing out of this is a plan that actually a plan that scores highly is one that identifies specific risk and how you plan on mitigating the risk. So that is the risk portion. Now the project planning and delivery, we're looking at right from the time we select a firm to the time you start the project. What are you going to be doing after the notice to proceed is issued to you? How are you going to handle submittals and shop drawings? Identification of long lead items. We also ask for a project schedule. We want to make sure that your project schedule outlines how you're going to be managing the work. So basically, when you come to the interview, we expect to hear from you a plan, articulate a plan for how you're going to deliver the work, right from the pre-construction phase through the construction phase to the closeout. So just walking us through the plan, identifying any long lead items and how you plan on managing them, identifying the critical part on the project, and how you plan on making sure that this project is delivered on time, and of course within the budget that the owner expects to see. Now the interview process involves only the critical team members that have been identified in the RFP. On this project, we have identified the critical team members to be the project manager, the superintendent, the mechanical subcontractors lead person, the fire protection subcontractor lead on site, and then the electrical contractor lead on site. So these are the only people we expect to be at the interview. And we have an attachment form B2 that you're expected to also fill out. That's a very important commitment for us. So we will not tolerate a bait and switch. So whatever name or whose name you put on that B form is going to be the person we expect at the interview. And also, most importantly, the person that is going to be running the job. So you cannot send somebody to this interview and then later on try to switch that. We will not accept that. And then only the people listed on that form are going to be interviewed. We will not entertain any observers in the room on the day of the interview. So please pay attention to that. List the right people that have the time to commit to this project. So that is a very important part of the process. Next slide, please. So let me just summarize what I've just gone through right now. The RFP is very detailed. It talks about everything that I have talked about and more. And so please make sure you review the RFP. But the critical things to take out of this is that we're looking for a partner that would submit a responsive proposal to us, and will also come to the interview and show to us that they've thought through this project and are ready to deliver this project to us as a partner. If you have any questions, my suggestion would be to go to Procureware. If you are not registered yet, register. In Procureware, there's a clarification section. We will highly appreciate it if everybody submits their questions after this meeting or after the walkthrough in Procureware. Go into the clarification section and submit any questions you have, and we'll respond either directly in Procureware or through an addendum that is issued to address any questions. Well, Sarah, that is it. Thank you, everyone. If you have any questions about these sections that I've gone through, I'll be happy to answer that.
Great. Who's going to be covering contract award?
I can go through that a little bit here. So the contract award process follows the selection of the contractor that we are going to go with, which will be the highest scoring firm after we've gone through the scoring of the cost. If you look through the RFP, we assigned 500 points to cost, and then the other 500 is split between the risk plan and the project planning and delivery. So once we select the firm, we go to the pre-award phase. Now, the pre-award phase is one that is where we get to hear a little bit more from you about how you're going to be delivering the project. We talk about, by then, we would have seen your subcontractor participation information. We would be asking you questions about your commitment to the schedule. We'll be asking you about more details, basically, about the project than we do with everybody through the interview phase. This is a phase where we're second double checking that we've made the right selection, and you are also double checking that you're making the right selection as a team to go forward. And as indicated here, once we finish the pre-award phase, we'll be looking at the affirmative action and SUB plan. Those are subject to or conditions of award. So if we don't pass this phase with you, you still can go through and be the highest scoring firm but not get awarded the contract. So it is important. It's a second look, and it's a subsequent step to the highest scoring firm. So we expect it's really your meeting. You come to that meeting and then you represent to us how you plan on delivering the project, taking into consideration your project plan and the affirmative action and SUBP plan. Once we're satisfied and you are also satisfied, then we move to the contract award phase and process. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you for jumping in there. Melissa, would you like to continue for us?
Yes. So kind of jumping off of Gilbert's with the required SUBP goals. This slide here just talks about the required documents. So it's kind of a two-step process for SUBP. The bidder's solicitation and SUBP commitment list, that is due with your proposal. And then there is a second submission that comes later. And we are collecting this SUBP participation packet. It's going to be due 2 business days following notification. and we are requiring it from the 3 highest ranked or lowest priced proposers. So just keep this in mind. The 3 highest ranked and lowest priced proposers will have to submit this 2 business days following an email notification. You can go to the next slide. So just going over the small and underutilized business program goals, we have set a 7% minority-owned business participation goal and a 6% women-owned business participation goal on this project. So counting, we accept only firms that are MNUCP certified, and they have to be located within the 16-county metro area. There is a list provided with the bid, the proposal of some firms, but that is not exhaustive. So please use the directory, mnucp.org. There's an SUBP checkbox that you can use to narrow down by that 16-county metro area. And so just keep in mind that MBE and WBE firms only count towards the MBE goal. So this information will be due, you'll have to fill out that SUBP packet within 2 business days following notification. And then if you do not meet the 7 and 6 goals, then a good faith effort documentation would be due upon request from the three highest ranked or lowest price proposers. And so if you're not meeting the goal and you're not demonstrating good faith efforts, then you will not be awarded the contract. So just keep that in mind. Don't wait till the last minute. You should be planning how you're going to meet the goal right up front. You can go to the next slide. So just a few things we like to highlight. Once a contract is awarded, there are reporting requirements for compliance with the programs that we monitor. LCB Tracker monitors prevailing wage, and so certified payroll reports are required by everybody who's performing on-site labor. And then we track payments in our B2G Now system or our compliance system. So all of those have to be reported in there to ensure that you're meeting your SUBP goals. Then just keep in mind prevailing wages are required. There's a wage decision in the proposal, and we do investigate any violations of that. You can go to the next slide. And then I do want to highlight the construction workforce goals are 20% female hours, 32% minority hours. Please note that this is an aspirational workforce goal. It's not conditional on the contract's award. This comes later once the on-site hours are being performed. So we'll just ask you, like, how many employees, how many hours are on site? How do you anticipate meeting these goals once work starts? So this is aspirational, and it starts after a contract is awarded. It's not dependent on the contract award, but just keep those in mind. And then we will collect an affirmative action plan prior to contract execution. I think the next couple of slides just show the documents that we have. So this one is the one that is due with the proposal. Just read the instructions. I believe on bullet number 3, there's a link to our website. If you do not want to fill this out via PDF, we do have an Excel version of this, this bidders and solicitation list. You can go to the next slide. And this is the one that is due 2 business days following notification that your firm is one of the 3, that is a typo, one of the 3 lowest priced or highest ranked proposers. So you have to have your letters of intent for every single firm that you're committing to, and then that final SUBP commitment form has to be filled out. You can go to the next slide. And then GFE is due upon request. If we can't determine that you're meeting the goal based on your SUVP submissions, then I would request that you complete all of the GFE documentation. And you can go to the next slide. I think that's everything I have there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Melissa. Susan, would you like to take us through this cost responsibility plan? And I will zoom in a bit.
Okay, thank you. For this project, we have 3 different funding sources. So we are asking you to split the costs on your proposal into 3 categories, and they are called MBC 1, MBC 2, and then the city. So to try to explain this, we have provided information on the drawings, where the most specific information is. That's drawings G002-2, 03-2, and 04-2. What you will find is a floor plan of the work areas, and then we have provided notes to give some explanation to some of the specifics. So you see on your screen right now the first floor of the project. You can go to the next slide, Sarah. And on G 0.03-2, we have specific notes that apply to all 3 pages. There is a cost responsibility matrix that takes tasks and items for the project, for all the work, and then lists which category it should be included in. Basically, the blue categories are the city generally, and the red categories are generally the MBC, but there is work that occurs in the blue areas that would be MBC work. So those are listed on here. We tried very hard to be sure we got everything you may be doing. And if you don't see something or you are confused about this, please do submit a question and we will answer it for you. We also have a note under MBC and cost responsibilities notes that's kind of in the center of this page that does state, if you are not sure which category it goes into, do include it in one of the categories on the B1 schedule of values. And if you were unsure, you could put a note there that says we included such and such in this category. So basically, everything that you have in your proposal cost should be included in one of the 3 categories. Don't leave anything out. Your numbers in the 3 categories need to add up to the total of your proposal cost. And you can go to the next page. This is, I guess, is just a little more of a close-up view of that cost responsibility matrix. So we basically tried to show you where the work, the MBC work is called stage 15 for the most part. And we tried to give you the room numbers that that applies to. And then down towards the bottom, you'll see city office improvements. And we tried to give you the room numbers that is the majority of the work is the city's work. But as I said, some categories in the various rooms spreads out between the city and MBC, so please review this matrix carefully. Next page. These are the forms that are included in the documents. This form is the cost proposal and project duration form. It is due with your proposal. The first page is the people that you will have on the project. The next page has the general cost information split by MBC01, MBC02, and the city cost. And then the other pages are the alternates costs. Next page. And I should have added unit prices also on the previous form. Then the day after the proposals are due, we are asking for your detailed breakdown of your schedule of values. That is attachment B1. This form lists the various sections of work and then has one form that has MBC01, MBC02, and a total on it. And the next page is the city total. The dollar values at the bottom of the form should match what you provided with your proposal. So for the city, you'll have 15, 20 categories. All those numbers add up to a bottom line number. That number should match the number you submitted the previous day for the city cost. Next page. I guess that was it. So cost is very important. We know that this is rather complicated. We do appreciate all your effort to put these costs into the right categories. So please do review this, and you have any questions at all, please submit them to the question site at Hennepin County. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Susan. We're going to go through a short summary of the scope, starting with architecture with Jeff Walls from Gensler.
Yes, good morning. The previous diagrams that Susan showed shows that the work that we're talking about is work on the first floor and the second floor and sub-basement, and all three of those floors aren't the total floor. It's actually work in selected areas in those. Overall, we're talking about 11,000 square feet with additional renovations, interior improvements of 21,000. Next slide. The sub-basement work is mostly focused on the existing foundation wall. The interior face of it has receiving some prep work and then a waterproofing to address some infiltration issues that have been ongoing for water intrusion in that space. And next slide. On the first floor, on the west side in the corner, it's mostly focused on interior renovations and also major gutting and removal of the existing restrooms in this area and reworking them into two main bathrooms with two additional private single occupant toilets and a nursing or a wellness room that is also set up for plumbing for it to be converted to a future bathroom if needed. There's also in the bottom corner, you'll hear the team refer to it either as a historic mayor's office, or it's also now it's being converted to a conference room in that area. There's some more intensive finishes and attention paid to that space. It is not a restoration. It is a light, respectful renovation of that space, but some of the finishes are elevated beyond what are in some of the other areas. There's also work in the public corridors, reworking of the marble and finishes in the corridor area, including reconstruction of part of the existing corridor wall to remove clay tile block and replacing it with metal stud walls. There's also a new green roof access. There's an existing green roof in the courtyard in the internal core of the building. And right now it's only accessed. In a few areas, we're creating a public access point with an accessible lift that passes through right there where the arrow is for the public to gain access to that space. Next slide. Still on first floor in the east, again, more TI work and renovations. There is a shared meeting room in the core that it's being developed off to the side there. And then also minor modifications to a historic stair, which is located in the that tenant space right there. And next slide. And then on the second floor, back in the west corner, again, light remodeling, patching and repairing, finishes, and there's also a bullet-resistant glazing assembly and some millwork that goes into the reception counter. Just calling that out as a unique piece that is unique to this piece of the remodeling. Again, there's some light touches at the corridor of the site, but not as extensive as it is on the first floor.
Great. Let's have Soam Walafan and Willow Nichols address mechanical scope and electrical scope, please. Soam?
Hello, this is Soam. I'm the mechanical engineer on a project with Victus. So sub-basement, this is pretty much a complete demolition of the piping, the storm water in the moat area. And then we're not touching the 911. Let's see, there's existing steam piping in the sub-basement as well that we need to demo back to the main and cap. Let's see, we have to provide new heating water to new unit heaters that we're providing. Let's see, we have to extend new heating water main and fire protection piping to serve the sub-basement. And then we need to provide new relief hood with protection from falling ice and granite to match there's an existing relief or exhaust hood on the east side that we're trying to match. Let's see, the new moat storm drains piping, and we have to provide a duplex sump pump to be tied into the existing storm main. And that's all in the sub-basement. Then on the first floor, east tenant improvement, this is kind of light remodel. We have to revise existing HVAC, perimeter, radiant heating, and fire protection heads as required to accommodate the new layout. Then I think we have to provide some new VAV with reheats to serve the new zone. Let's see, then there's a bathroom that we demoing in this space. We have to disconnect the plumbing and demo back in to the mains. And then there's some new sink. We have to extend domestic water, waste, and vent piping to serve the new sinks. Next slide. Interior improvement. This is on the second floor west tenant. This is very light remodel. I think that's the 102 room or something that we have to revise the HVAC and fire protection head to accommodate the new layout. I believe we have 1 or 2 VAV box with reheats we need to provide to accommodate the new zone. Let's see. Then in the conference room, let's see. No, not this one. This here, all area, we have to provide automation to be tied back to their existing BAS system. I believe this include the new unit heaters, duplex, sump pump, VAV, fan power box, Unico system, and the perimeter radiant heating that need to be tied to their existing automation system. Next.
All right. Yeah. So this is Willow with Victus Engineering. So again, this project, as you're looking through the drawings, it's important to remember we sort of have different levels of work in these different areas. So stage 15, which is the first floor southwest corner of the building, we have a complete demolition. Be pretty much a complete gut of that area, and we'll replace it all with new power distribution, branch circuits. We will all new lighting and controls, new fire alarm connected to the existing system throughout all of that area, and then rough in for the low voltage systems. Also on stage 15 and shaft number 4 on the first floor, we have several existing panel boards that we're going to do a 1-for-1 replacement of. So just like for like replacement with new. Similarly, in the sub-basement, this is considered part of stage 15, so it's a complete demolition of all of the power down there. Most of the lighting, there are a couple of areas where we're going to leave the existing lighting fixtures in place, and those are noted on the drawings. And then we're also demolishing and replacing the fire alarm components down there. In the office improvement areas, so this would be first floor east and the second floor areas, we do have some partial demolition where there are walls and ceilings being removed and new office areas added. So there'll be some modifications to the existing branch circuits there. In first floor east, we're going to reconfigure the existing power and fire alarm systems. And then a lot of areas there we're doing a 1-for-1 lighting replacement. So again, take a look at the drawings. I've noted where we're doing 1-for-1 replacement and where we're doing a whole new layout. The significance there is the 1-for-1 replacement, we can reconnect to existing lighting control devices. However, in the areas where we're doing a complete replacement, there are going to be new lighting control devices provided. In the first floor northeast area, that's where we have, all new power, new lighting, new fire alarm, low voltage rough in. It's pretty electrically, it's more or less a complete remodel. However, that area does not include replacement of the panel boards in shaft number 2. And then similarly, second floor west, it's a sort of a light touch. We've got some modifications, reconfiguring some lights, some new power devices, modifications to branch circuits, fire alarm modifications, but of all the areas, that's probably the lightest touch. So do take a close look at the drawings there to see what is included and what is not. In the first floor corridor, we're replacing all the existing ceiling mounted lighting with new LED fixtures. And I also want to point out in particular the lighting controls. All of them need to comply with the most recent version of the Minnesota Energy Code, and they're going to connect to the BAS. So that is detailed out in the drawings. So take a good look at that. I want to mention also for floor mounted devices, we don't have the opportunity to poke through in most locations. However, in the building, there's been a history of channeling in the floors. So that's detailed out. I've got a lot of information in the notes on how to go about doing that, but there's also, it's been done elsewhere in the building, so the folks that work on site can tell you more about that as well. The existing fire alarm system is Gamewell IF650. So again, we're going to provide all new conduit, all new cabling, all new devices in stage 15 areas. All of that conduit and boxes needs to be red. You can either get red galvanized or you can paint it. It's up to you. But then also I want to mention that the signal line circuits and other power limited fire alarm cables may not share a raceway. So this is a 2-pipe system, if you're familiar with that terminology. I also want to mention that there are a lot of outdated branch panel board schedules that we'd like to have existing circuits traced and those panel board schedules updated. So those locations are identified in the drawings, but we are looking at first floor shafts 2 and 4 and second floor shaft 4. So that's probably 9 to 12 panel boards that are going to need to be traced out. So do include some time for that.
Thank you, Willow. Jeff, do you want to just walk us through some of these images quickly?
Sure. So in the top 2 photos is the green roof access. The dark gray rectangle, you can see 2 glass block windows, and then that dark gray rectangle is actually where the existing doorway is for roof access. It's just an opaque door you have to climb up in and out. That's the opening we'll be using to create that new public access. We'll be modifying the railing to allow an extension of that existing green roof to get over to the door. On the bottom is a picture of the condition of that existing historic mayor's office. There's remnants of a 1960s remodeling. That's what that ceiling is, and then the paneling that's been pulled off in some areas. Behind it is a remnants of the original space in a lot of locations. One thing to note is in that lower right photo where you're seeing the door to the corridor, that wall will be torn out and reconstructed, but it's important to note the drawings call for the existing framing to be documented before it is torn out, because there are openings for windows that will be recreating to that interior corridor that are those historic openings need to be documented in terms of their size and location before any demo work happens. Same thing with the door, it's being relocated to its original spot because where it's shown now is part of that 1960s remodel. The top photos are just showing some conditions of the existing corridor. Again, we'll be rearranging some of that as needed with the wainscot, the floor patching, the tile work, and then some replastering. There is a special wall texture that's used on the corridor walls that is called out for in the specifications. You also can see in some of these other drawing or the other photos, the existing conditions in terms of areas that are receiving more of a light touch. And for example, in the bottom right corner, that ceiling is a newer remodeled condition, whereas some of the other areas are being receiving a more extensive demolition and remodel.
Thank you, Jeff. Royce, would you like to share a bit about occupied building requirements, please?
I would love to. Thank you, Sarah. And thank you, Jeff. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about each of these items on the presentation. But first, I want to talk about noisy work times and definitions. This is really important for your bid because this work should be planned to be done outside of normal working hours, as called out on the second sheet of the drawings and in supplementary conditions. The definition of what's considered noisy work is on that same page if you look through the general notes on page 2 of the drawings. But please review that and think about what the noisy work is that you're going to be doing. Consider that being done after hours and plan accordingly as far as your costs on that. But the building is open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Typically, working hours in the building are 8 to 4:30, but there are some 24/7 operations, including the 911 call center that's down in the basement in that same southwest corner of the building, and the adult detention center on the 4th and 5th floors. Typically, there are also weekend and evening events once we get through COVID-19, and so loud work will not be allowed at the same time as these events. Again, noisy work needs to be completed outside of normal working hours. It must be scheduled at least 3 weeks in advance. I know that scheduling piece is more of a construction planning thing, but I just want to you to keep that in mind as far as putting together your bid. For hot works permits and fire alarms, I'm going to combine these two together. Any work that potentially causes dust, smoke, or sparks in the building requires a hot works permit submitted by 7:30 a.m. on the day before work starts. And that's now going to our office support specialist. And each hot works permit can be for up to 1 week in duration. And as noted in the specs, in the supplementary condition, there's a $500 fine for setting that off. So just to include, this is a reminder, just to include as far as project management, including time to do those forms each week will be important. Dust and noise control. You will be working in a very public space. It will be your responsibility to take care of all measures to control dust and noise. Then please make sure this is addressed both in your risk mitigation plan and in your bid, that you got the proper temporary walls or hoarding walls to keep things isolated. Adjacent projects. This is important because there are going to be other projects going on in the building, other things going on in the surroundings, and you need to take that into consideration. The first is the most broadest as far as the impact. There will be a secure perimeter set up around the City Hall courthouse, which will also include adjacent city and county buildings that will limit access depending on what's going on, maybe more or less. And so that's going to be going on around the building and the adjacent buildings. Exterior improvements, project phase 2 will be happening. The last piece of that project is going from April through May. I'm sorry, the end of March through the end of April. And it will be the 4th Street door replacement. So those 3 entryways on the 4th Street side will be closing off one at a time, but there'll always be the other 2 open. So that will be happening towards the beginning of this project. Facility safety improvements project phase B is being planned for June through November of 2021. Work will most likely be restricted to the 4 shafts in the building and the attic, so there's potentially some overlap with this project at the shafts that we will need to coordinate. And then the last project is the attic and pipe insulation abatement project that will be happening from March through May of this year. The first part of that is where there's going to be the most overlap with some of the pipe chases in the building, but this will most likely be completed prior to your project starting. And then probably 85% of the work for this project is up in the attic, which I don't believe we have any overlap there. So just keep that in mind. There will be other projects going on, and so it won't just be you working in all locations. Occupied building requirements. Just remember the City Hall courthouse is fully occupied. I want you to consider that as you plan your work. Any work that needs to be done outside of regular working hours must be factored into your pricing. Okay. Background checks and access. Background checks will be required, and as part of your schedule, please allow for this. The cost of these background checks will be the responsibility of the general contractor. And as you will be working in unoccupied areas, we are looking at expedited background checks that should be closer to 1 to 2 weeks. And we will get that process started as soon as the contract is in place. Document review reminder, Gilbert covered this earlier. Gensler's put a lot of effort into developing these construction documents. And I think they're quite thorough. We also want you to succeed on this project. So part of that success, part of becoming the good partner that Gilbert noted, is making sure that you do a thorough review Keep in mind the last day for questions coming up on the 10th. So make sure you do that review prior to that time so you get any questions in by the 10th. And then lastly, on COVID-19 related measures, your safety and well-being is important to us. I trust it's important to you as well. The MBC has put together what we call the facility operational plan that's included in your specs. Please make sure you review that as well as you're putting your proposal together, because there's time that needs to be considered as folks check in each day. They need to go through the COVID questions at the 4th Street security desk. So make sure that time is accounted for in your proposal. And thank you everyone for your interest in this project. That's all I had.
Thank you so much, Royce. And then lastly, we apologize, the slide was inadvertently not included here. We would like Cheryl O'Brien from TMC, IT Security, and AV to give us a bit of an update. You've got about 2 minutes, Cheryl.
Okay, I'll talk fast. Hi, this is Cheryl O'Brien, and Ted is also on the call with me. Want to just go over 6 points. One is that the technology scope includes all of the structured cabling, the security, the AV, and also 5 new NEMA 12 enclosures for the existing telecommunication rooms, the TRs. On the technology drawings, you will note that the technology drawings show new devices and locations. They do not show existing locations. This means that you will need to make sure that you do not remove any active cabling, and that is clearly delineated in the specs and such. The cabling is horizontal cabling only. So it reflects, again, a mix of reuse of existing and new Cat 6 cable runs. You will find in the specs and in the drawings that there is no vertical riser cabling. That is all being handled by existing cabling in place, both copper and fiber. Next point, with the exception of the video intercom system, which is for the MBC space, which would be room 104 on your plans, the security devices are additions to existing systems. In other words, we're expanding existing security systems that are in place. And so where it's appropriate, of course, that would be the existing systems that are in place. And you'll see that reflected in the security specifications. And then on the last point would be on the AV components and the AV systems. Those are all net new systems, meaning that you're not adding those to an existing system as you are on your security systems, both access control and CCTV. Did I stay under my 2 minutes, Sarah?
That was marvelous. Thank you so very much, Cheryl. And we want to collectively, as the team from Hennepin County, City of Minneapolis, and the Municipal Building Commission, and our Gensler team of Victus and TMC, working closely with CPMI. Thank everyone for your interest in this project. It's an important project for all of us, and we look forward to your questions, and we look forward to your proposals. Susan Jones, anything else to close us out?
No, I think that's fine. Are you going to take a few questions now, or should they submit them all to the ProcureWare site?
I think it makes sense to have everybody submit them to the ProcureWare site. Unless you'd like to do that, address that otherwise.
No, that's fine. I think I just want to be sure that they know they should submit them to the ProcureWare site, not directly to Gensler. That's kind of a new process with the Hennepin County site now, so please do submit them in that manner. And I echo everyone else, thanks. We appreciate your interest in the project and wish you well on developing your proposal.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.